What's up, everyone? It's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, which means you're tuning in to Cannabis Legalization News. I'm producer Lauren, and today we're going to be speaking with Chef Jasmine Moore, founder of Green Panther Chef. She's going to be talking a little bit about cooking with cannabis, so if you're going to be bringing something to a potluck or you're in charge of the Christmas menu this season, you're going to want to tune in for that. But first, we do have to get into a little bit of cannabis legalization news. So what's going on, Miggy and Tom?
Hey.
Did you hear what happened in Michigan? Oh, good.
You're
Hang
already
on. Let me remove that from the screen. And I want to just take a small moment to point out how I forgot to turn on the do not disturb. And people like to call me more often than I would like. And so God forbid I'd be able to do a podcast without getting a phone call 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. But what do you think about that news out of Michigan, how they're recalling vapes?
You would think, first off, I would say the manufacturers, whoever's producing these cartridges, if you're not following news and know already,
Seriously,
2 months ago that vitamin E acetate.
No, they banned the vitamin E acetate not 2 months ago, about a month, November 22nd, the MRA, the Marijuana Regulatory Agency in not Detroit. I'm sure there's an office there, but it's the state of Michigan. Said that they are going to now start banning vitamin E acetate.
But I mean, if you're in the business, don't you constantly, because this was in question already by the CDC, a couple months ago before even the states took.
But come on, Michigan doesn't know how to do anything right. Of course, I'm prejudiced against Michigan. I used to work for a law firm out there, and it's too bad. They had General Cart's Honey Nut Cheerios. Yeah, that isn't Trix, Captain, and Cocoa Puffs. It's not like they're trying to market this to children at all.
Well, and then the other part of that is they're actually, I think those are state brands, right? Like sold in the state.
No, I don't think that. I'd have to ask Scott Roberts on that just to see how they go about it. But I don't think that they have like state liquor stores or state pot stores. I think it's all private out there.
Well, but I mean by state, it was made in that state by someone
right.
in that industry.
It looks like it's a legitimate area. In the sense that it doesn't look like it was coming from the black market. It looks like it was coming from the actual, regulated stores. So state recalls. It's not like you can do a recall from a black market,
Yeah, and that's where I think it's both a failing and a win if you think about it, because they caught something, right? And this proves that regulation does work. Just like, and at least with this kind of regulation, when it comes to like my point of view is lab testing is plant regulation. And if we just do a flat evenly require that kind of regulation, we're good to go. But of course, we're going to have taxes and shit. So,
oh man, as soon as they find out they can tax it, that's what they want to do. But then did you hear about like Chicago saying like, hey, let's do this, but no, let's not.
Yeah, what's up with your mayor? She wants to do a grow, but then
my mayor, I can't vote for her. I according to where I live, it's the middle of the cornfields. And so my mayor is a heck of a guy. I know him. He lives like down the block. I live in a village of like 4,000 people, So yeah, Lightfoot wants to have Chicago own its own, grow its own pot and weed co-op, which makes me wonder, like, can they? Does the statute even provide that they're able to do this? I don't know. She does say it's a very, very expensive business to get into. That's true. It is a very expensive business to get into.
But if it's so here in Washington, actually, a little tidbit: we have a city-owned pot shop.
That's a remnant of the state-owned liquor stores, and then Canada also has.
This is legit owned, like it's a utility for the city.
I like how cannabis is a public good in Washington State. We could learn a lot from Washington State. Cannabis is a public good.
But just this one city, though. This one city, the mayor, I'm friends with him, and I truly became friends with him because of this. He saw the new 502 industry. Mm-hmm. He said, "Why can't we own a shop?" And then it doesn't make a huge bunch of revenue. It pays for itself pretty much, but it does supply, I believe, like 6 living wages to people. It's not like the water utility where it's pulling in all this extra revenue. Mm-hmm. It's especially in the 502 cannabis industry, no one's really making a ton of money out here yet, except for the stores. The stores are the winners.
Some stores are. I mean, that's one of the reasons why Mayor Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, wants to actually get into the growing industry, because she says that's the most lucrative aspect of it. And it may be simply because it's the least onerously taxed. Because, in Illinois, you have to pay the privilege tax to grow weed, but you're creating the cost of good. You're in the cog, so you don't have the IRC 280E problems.
Could they do something like on a vocational sense where they're providing opportunity for the citizens of saying, okay, we're going to be a state-owned?
Well, they would still have to be issued the licensed. And so I don't recall anything in the statute that says a municipality cannot be on an application. So that would be interesting, though, to try to see, well, who's your principal officer then if it's the state? Yeah. Why can't you own a shop in my garage? There's a lot of reasons why you can't own a weed shop in your garage, dude.
There shouldn't be, though.
Yes, there should. Well, it is a fungible good that people will exchange money for, and so it's just kind of like, hey, should I be allowed to sell moonshine out of my garage? Nope, I really shouldn't. It's public safety,
here in Washington, with the home grow issue, our comparison is home brews. Mm-hmm. And you're entitled to, if you even distill spirits. So that's how we look at it too. It's like, look, if we can create, first off, lower level, let me just grow a couple plants at home. And then the next step would be, if I want to create concentrates, well, then I'll have to apply for a license there, right?
Well, okay, that's the thing though. Like, what is the difference between personal and commercial use? And so that is all over the law. There is a huge cleavage between what is a consumer debt and what is a commercial debt. For example. And so if it's business, you can contract for it, and it's a lot more freewheeling. But if you're a consumer, you're a lot more protected. And so as soon as you become a business in that, cultivation, growing a few plants in your basement into, selling it at the farmer's market or whatever, that's when the regulations can start to come into play.
Yeah.
Or should, in theory. I mean, like they've banned the absolute home grow, but at least the medical patients are going to have it for access to medicine purposes. And they have the same thing in Washington. I mean, you guys have home grow for medical patients.
Yeah, no, I understand your division as far as like if you're going to create something for money or extra revenue. But we also have like kind of like, I would say that's where our craft market is at, is with the home brew. I can brew a little bit and actually sell it at a farmer's market. I'm not pulling in.
You need a liquor license.
Yeah,
you need some type of license. So like, there's always going to be some type of license. And like right now, I don't believe the municipalities would be able to create their own types of cannabis cultivation licenses and allow stuff that the state wouldn't. But what is the state going to come in and shut them down if they try to create their own cannabis co-op? Is that what they're going to try to do? Or are they going to try to get their own cannabis cultivation license themselves?
Well, now the question is, with that same, even though the mayor's in agreement, apparently it seems the city council isn't.
Yeah, what's up with that? Let's go to the other things. Chicago City Council Committee narrowly votes to delay recreational pot sales.
So what are they smoking?
A Chicago alderman is a step closer to delaying legal weed within the city limits until summer of 2020 in a narrow 10-9 vote. The city council on contracting oversight and equity, so it must be a committee, said that they are going to this delay would make Illinois' largest city out of step with the rest of the state when recreational marijuana sales become legal on January 1st. And not that I really like how that last sentence was written, but I'm not writing that paper.
Well, then Lauren posted the Black Caucus. I don't know if that's who's behind the holdup or
what is the blockage? Who's not getting their beat wet? What do you think it is? What do you think? Why are they holding it up? Okay, we repeatedly asked the members of the Black Caucus to devise a strategy that addresses equity.
So that's what we're looking at.
They want more equity. Crossing our arms and walking away as a tactic, yada, yada. Now, I don't recall anything in the statute that said that you're allowed to have like reasonable time, manner, place, and equity restrictions on a municipal level. So I don't know. But they can do whatever they want. They might just get sued.
Yeah, but with the more equity side of things, I think they're making a bad play. They should let it come into play first, and then
seriously, like I'm representing the diversity is coming, and if the social equity points are out there, there's going to be completely 100% minority-owned businesses, woman-owned businesses. Those applications are coming, and then why you don't trust what the state has put together? You don't think that the state's ability to be able to inject social equity into the actual application licensing process is enough? Is that,
It seems like you guys have enough people that are willing to be involved in the actual initiative stuff. So I think you can always go back and correct it. Here in Washington.
Are you kidding? No, but like but okay. Chicago, if you are the alderman responsible for Chicago not getting weed on January 1st, are you even going to win re-election? Like, seriously, how secure is this person in his council seat or alderman seat?
I just can't wait till you guys actually get into play and then see how. I mean, hopefully it doesn't hold up your guys'. Well, at least Chicago, but everybody else will be fine. But I'm really curious about the DC market.
The DC market? You mean Washington DC?
Yeah.
I didn't think. Well, I thought the DC market, and to the extent that it does exist, is just kind of there. Like, it's legal to grow, right? Or is it legal to medical grow? Or
it's legal to give away too. Like,
it's legal to give away, yeah. But like, as soon as you start like dealing in this stuff, you might get into some problems.
Well, that's why you have $30 stickers.
I love my $30 stickers. My last one that I got came with an ounce of weed.
I'm just saying,
maybe a couple of grams. Yeah.
So where are you buying weed at? Mexico?
Oh man, maybe Mexico in 1973, right?
Well, I mean, I used to be able to get $120 quarter pounds, dude. So I mean, it was a thing.
Nope.
They're not. I mean, it wasn't good.
Never ever in the history of Illinois heard of $120 quarter pound, but maybe one day, I guess. I don't know. Let's see how much of this stuff we can grow.
Damn right.
So yeah, those were some pretty interesting news stories. I really hope that Chicago, seriously, that would be such a buzzkill that if in less than 2 weeks there's nowhere to buy weed in Chicago.
Well, except for its patients, right?
Oh, that's right. That's a different law. I mean, like, so the federal, I'm sorry, the adult use law has nothing to do with the medical law. They are treated mostly separately. I mean, there may be some insignificant overlaps, but not really. And then evidently that would be one that I'd enjoy to see, and I guess I'll be able to see it practically speaking in a couple more weeks, because the adult use law in Illinois has said that you have preference to medical patients. So if I'm a medical patient and I go into like any dispensary, as opposed to the one particular medical dispensary that I am hitched to, because they assign you to a medical dispensary, probably because they're trying to make sure that you don't go over your supply limits. I'm not sure. So anyway, can I go into an adult use dispensary and show my medical card and hop the line?
That just sounds a little presumptuous in the sense that like every other patient's going to be going through a line too. So how do you? I mean, it's still going to be the same fucking line. If anything, they just give you a discount for Is there a discount involved?
Hang on, man. Who wants to pay $89 for an eighth? I think you're going to pay more than that. I wouldn't surprise, because like right now, if I'm paying $60 for an eighth at medical prices, without all that tax that's already built into it, and you have to, for that same eighth, you'd have to pay like 25% tax. So, let's say it was a $50 one. All right, well, 25% tax and 50 is $12.50. All right, so now we're up to 62. And then you'd also have to pay the state sales tax plus the municipal tax. So that's like another 13%. So add that on top of it. It's going to be, maybe $89 might be the price of an eighth. We'll have to wait and see on that. But then for medical, lower tax. It's just going to be like when you go into Colorado to buy, and there's those two prices. Okay.
That's the way it should be. And as far as the $89 eighth, the argument for that, for recreational markets is, honestly, dude, 15 years ago when I was in Arizona, always the cannabis connoisseur. This is the same place where I was buying $120 quarter pounds. Obviously, it was not quality weed. I met a guy through Xbox Live, and he was able to get me a quality eighth, but I paid like $200 for this fucking thing, dude.
Quality eighth for $200? That's insane. Eighth of weed.
It was before there was medical in Arizona, and the cartels in Arizona, their primary money was cannabis. So
wow,
at the time, the laws were harder in cannabis in Arizona than they are for like cocaine or whatnot. It was easier for me to get cocaine and all kinds of other shit than it was for me to get weed in Arizona.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And that's why
it's about the wrong priorities.
Well, the wrong priorities because the cartels were so pushing that weed through because more people consume cannabis voluntarily, right? That's their their market. The fact that we've legalized it in so many states, we fucked up their income. Like this is still a thing that we're winning. But yeah, I mean, so back to that $89 eighth though, you're paying for safety. You're paying for
Purity.
You're paying for
selection.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great thing, right? You don't want to always pay the $89 eighth. You're gonna have your black market access still, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
But
if anything, it'll go up.
Yeah.
I
just say, it's not all bleak. It's just okay to have.
That's true, man. But what really I'm kind of happy about for this episode. Lauren did a great job doing a new background with pot leaf art.
No, that's pretty dope.
That is awesome. Yeah, thank you, Lauren.
And I think we should bring our guest on board to
I think we
accentuate the background.
Yeah, hey, that looks looking good.
What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Can you tell us a little bit about Green Panther Chef, please?
Green Panther Chef. We're a full-service cannabis catering company. That's how we started in Washington, D.C.
Washington, D.C.
Yes.
All right. Hey, why don't you kind of help us understand the very confusing and conflicting laws when it comes to cannabis in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, okay. So I'll attempt. So it's definitely a gray area for sure. But we have something called Initiative 71.
Okay.
And so what that is, it's a very gray area for all of us. And so what it looks like in order for you to get cannabis is a gifting process. So how you were talking about the stickers, you'll buy a sticker or a card or something like this for $35 and you'll get an eighth, or you'll get a pack of gummies or you'll get something like that. Because it cannot be a direct exchange for money in cannabis.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, is that specifically in the law, like no money for cannabis?
Yeah, it's no, it's not a direct exchange.
Okay.
But it is, but you can consume. And that you can not
when you
sell
can consume,
it's a very
so you're able to, do you get like a magic butter machine and do your own extractions and create your own dishes? And tell us about your business.
Yeah, so as far as for myself, yeah, definitely. So my background, I'll go back a little bit, give you some context. But my background, I am a chef. I graduated in 2006 from culinary college. And then also I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease the exact same year. And so what that looked like was me dropping down. I'll give you a very short story, but what that looked like was dropping down to like 84 pounds and being on 5 medications. And so with food and cannabis, I'm no longer on any of the pharmaceutical medications, and I exclusively use food and cannabis.
Wow.
And so Green Panther Chef, it looks like cannabis catering. That's how we started in 2017. After Initiative 71, we were doing it under a different name for a while, but then we actually kind of, made it a real business after Initiative 71. So I do a lot of cooking classes, and then we also have a line of CBD products as well.
Interesting. So your entire pills, all of them, all your pharmaceutical drugs.
All of them. I was on prednisone, Niforex, Humira, Zantac. I was taking injections in my leg every single day. I was on steroids.
Did these doctors, when they diagnosed you, did they ever mention cannabis?
No, absolutely not. So what happened after I dropped down to like 84 pounds, people were like, what's going on, Jasmine? I'm a vibrant person. I'm upbeat. My mother came to me and said, have you ever heard of cannabis? And I'm like, yeah, of course I've heard of cannabis,
I've been saying no to that since 1980, Mom. Yeah.
But I was like, no, I do not want to be sick and I do not want to be stoner too. Like coming from DC, it's just like a certain perception. So I was like, no, I do not want that whatsoever.
Oh, you had your own prejudice toward the plant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, I was kind of like, you know what? I'm not sure about that just because of the whole stigma around it. But I was introduced to a naturopathic doctor. And he knew so much information about cannabis. And then he referred me to someone, Dr. Raphael Michello. Like a lot of his case studies, a lot of his information that talks about gut flora and how cannabis, certain strands kind of produce gut flora.
They
and
do?
And that's the reason why I have this issue. With leaky gut syndrome, that's just a stepping stone, to ulcers and IBS and Crohn's disease and the whole gambit.
Anti-inflammation. So is that what it helps with, or how does it work?
Cannabis for me, absolutely anti-inflammatory. And it's an anti-inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very specific on the strands that I look at.
Okay.
So things that are very high in beta carophylline, they have
Oh,
a high
really?
terpene, very high terpene profile with beta carophylline, myrcene sometimes depending on how I'm feeling,
Okay.
if you want to upper, of course you want to do
So the
something like a
beta
lime.
carophene, that one's more like, if you guys ever smell your weed, and you should, that's more of that skunky smell and the
Yes.
peppery smell. And
Yes.
so, and then with the myrcene, that's more of an earthy smell. And that one's very popular in industrial hemp. So the hemp flower that you guys are smoking, that probably has a high myrcene content. And so do like a lot of the indicas. But the caryophyne, or sometimes, like, this is one of the things that I have problems with terpenes, is because they're big words and you read them and then very few people know them.
Yeah.
It's like everybody, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong. But
And no, you're so right.
Right.
Why do you brought up the
Because they're
smell?
found in nature, huh?
Oh, I was sorry. I was going to say that I'm glad that he brought up the smell. Like, as a chef, I know people are always, when I ever watch a show about cooking and whatnot, or in cannabis and knowing your body, it's always about smell. And if your body tells you, hey, I like this one, and you want this one,
Your body tells it all. That's for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, like, I use a lot of things that are high in beta carophylline, like I said, because it's the anti-inflammatory, and then the myrcene as far as for pain management. If you're dealing with Crohn's disease or any type of gastrointestinal, it's a lot of pain, as far as in like the gut region. So you really want to like soothe that by using like strain alignment.
Yeah. And then within those terpenes in those strains, what do you have a special flavor most associated, a favorite one? It's always Italian food. Is that your go-to, or what do you do?
So if I put it into my food,
Yeah.
So I really like salad. This is so crazy because it can be versatile. And
Yeah.
people are like, what when you say that, right? But I really enjoy it because you can just add different things to it. I really like a salad dressing, and this is how I was introduced to it, was a salad dressing by using a fermented mustard. I would do like purple cabbage, extra virgin olive oil, and I would use, of course, extract the cannabis with using the extra virgin olive oil.
Okay.
And so I would use that and use a little bit of vinegar as well. So you're getting like those probiotics. And I would
So
use
you're eating like vegetables, and those vegetables, from my understanding of how probiotics work, that's what the little things eat, like in your guts, to help you make the good stuff.
And putting it all together,
Yeah.
And so I really talk to clients about just like that whole entire strand alignment, and how you don't have to use these big words like beta carophylline. You can also use carrots because it's found in carrots. You can also use like pine or lemons. Limonene is found in lemons. And so when you start to familiarize, and show people like this is at the grocery store, cannabis is a lot more approachable. And so that's how I work with a lot of my people.
And then the terpenes really have that ability to do that because it's open. They're all over the place in plants,
Yes, they're everywhere. Like, I'm actually doing a class later on today just on the whole entire strand alignment, terpenes, how they're found in nature, and then wine. Of course, it's going to be like a little happy hour situation. But
so what do you mean by strain alignment? How are you using that word?
So when I talk about strand alignment, I talk about really the alignment of terpenes, the CBD or the cannabinoids, and then also the issue that you're trying to pinpoint. So when I'm talking about, let's say, pain management, I talk about that a lot. I say that, okay, so if you're dealing with pain, try to look for something that's found in nature. So let's look at myrcene, right? So you want to use a strand that is higher in myrcene. Let's use something that's like mangoes, by using a smoothie or something, and then see how that regulates your pain, And so these are the things that I talk about as far as just like finding strands that actually help with the issue that you're dealing with. And then also finding food as well that helps with the issue that you're dealing with as well.
Do you have a method of identifying, say, your ailment, and like when you try this different strain to try and put two and two together? Do you have a method for that?
So a lot of it is journaling, like when I started. And so, yes, trial and error. I do have like a little back knowledge of just like, hey, check these things out. But everybody's body is different.
Yeah.
So I'm not a doctor, so I can't say, hey, you do this and then this will happen. So it's more so about just like keeping a journal. This is what happened for me. Hey, just see what happens for you.
Yeah, no, I think the journal is the important part of everybody's experience, and
Absolutely.
whether recreational or patient. I mean, even somebody like myself who's been smoking for over 20 years, and now I have the luxury of the past 5 years of it having labels. Even then, I don't consistently buy the same stuff because I'm still in Wonderland. I've been like, oh, a new strain.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But that's awesome about the journal.
So do you guys have supper clubs out there too? Is that how do you do any like cannabis dinners for people or what?
It's a lot. So yeah, we do a lot of cannabis dinners. We go into people's home and create edible experiences. That's the whole entire spiel.
Is that how you get around from the direct transfer of money for cannabis?
Yeah, so we're putting it in food. I mean, it's the seasoning.
Right.
It's like black pepper.
They're buying the food. They aren't buying
They're
the
buying
cannabis.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is what I kind of say inside of our language. Like the cannabis is free. Like you're paying
Right.
for our services and the food.
But you only have like a limit, so you have a jurisdiction that you can't go outside. Sorry, we're not there yet. We can't.
Yeah, exactly. And so what's interesting is that a lot of people are coming to us. And so that's really exciting.
I can't wait. Next lobby days, we got to stop in.
Yeah, like a lot of people, and so they're renting Airbnbs and stuff like that because we do operate out of a commercial kitchen.
Okay.
But we can
because like Illinois, no, how the law is, if you were the closest license that you would be in right now is like an infuser license by infusing the cannabinoids into food products. But then you need to prepackage it, you need to wrap it, you need to have it all dosed, child-proof, and then shipped to the dispensary. Talk about a buzzkill.
Yeah, exactly. It's all stale and dry after.
Yeah, those cookies have never been good. You know that. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think, Tom, though, once you guys start your recreational, there's going to be that one person like Chef Jazz who's a pioneer that says, you know what, I'm going to work around the laws and have a dinner and invite people, friends.
And I'm charging for the food.
I'm inviting my friends for $50 a month, whatever it is. I mean, Chef, you're on the edge. You're doing a thing. I'm happy to see your success for the past 2 years you've been in business.
Yeah. About 3 years actually in March next year.
Yeah.
How do you handle the customer interaction on edibles? Because that's something that everybody's really scared of. It's one thing to smoke a joint. It's another thing to do edibles,
Relate to them. I mean, I talk about my story a lot because it is relatable. And then also I talk about microdosing a lot.
Good.
And then, low and slow is the way to do it. Like I had some college kids come to me and they were like, I want to do
microdosing. This is some sweet relief. It's just 5 milligrams per like Jolly Rancher, like small Jolly Ranchers.
Exactly. And that's all you really need. And people think that you really have to be stoned. I did a post. I say you don't have to be high to be healthy. It's really like you don't need that much.
Well, and I always say it's not that I get high, I get balanced,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like like vitamin C. Back in the day when people go out to sea and they learn that we need to carry oranges with us because people get sick from lack of vitamin C. I just say I got the lack of vitamin THC.
Yep, exactly.
I call people cannabinoid deficient.
Exactly.
Yep. I say that a lot. Exactly.
Sure. Have you ever had anybody at your party who probably had a little too much? Was like, all right, I'm done with the Doritos. I need to curl up in the ball here and call it good.
So actually, no, because I hear so many bad stories. Yeah. I'm very I was going to touch on it. Someone called me and said they want to do a party with 300 milligrams per person.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, no, if you do it right, you don't need any more than 20 milligrams. I mean,
some people could do 40, but those people are usually professionals. Yeah.
They weren't. It was just like a 21st birthday. It was like,
these guys, they also planned on drinking a whole bottle of vodka. It's one of those plans. They're idiots.
Exactly.
They're kids.
No.
When you plan your dinners, I'd imagine, because one of my favorite shows was the first season of Bong Appetit, and I learned about how the CBD component counteracted the THC, because they were very big on that. Like, hey, this one's going to get you high first, and then this one's going to bring you and level you out. Do you do a lot of that then?
Yeah, I mean, so definitely I balance out really with my meals. So sometimes I'll say 50 milligrams, but that's more so of a balance of THC and CBD as well. So I'm talking about that whole entire component. And the reason why I do that is because it's more of a smoother ride, I feel. you know, and
Yeah,
people
because you
enjoy
can
it
get a little
more.
too paranoid if you get too much THC,
Yep.
but that CBD just like, nah, I'm good.
It
I'm
just
good.
levels. It's just a
Yeah.
good ride. Like you feel it on the spike, and then you just kind of like ride it out later. So I really like mixing I'll go up to 50 by mixing both, but yeah, I like doing around like 35.
Do you find the CBD is the most beneficial for your gastro for your Crohn's, or do you need a 2 to
I
1?
need both.
Yeah.
1-1. Yeah, 1-1. Yeah, 1-1.
Yeah.
For sure.
I find if I just use too much regular weed, and by regular weed I mean like THC, I can get a little paranoid. Well, not necessarily paranoid, but just a little more edgy, a little bit more anxious. And so then the CBD really does help balance that out a lot.
And do you do terpenes? Like, so I went to a party. This is one of the most brilliant parties I ever saw, where they had water, like spouts, whatever, but they were flavored with terpenes. Like one was Blue Dream, another one was, and they had that nice terpene flavor. Do you do stuff like that?
Not inside of water. No, I don't play around with water, not too much.
You usually use olive oil as your solvent for the extractions?
So I use a lot of extra virgin olive oil, spices primarily that I do use, teas, a lot of, I have a conscious condiment line is what I call it. So it's like honeys, mustards, hot sauces, extra virgin olive oil, stuff for like everyday use.
Sweet.
Is that stuff on the market? Do you have Infused?
Yeah, I actually have it in retail stores on the East Coast here.
Nice.
Where are you guys located?
I'm in the middle of a cornfield, and yeah.
I'm in Seattle.
Okay. In Seattle. Okay, cool. Yeah. So like we are actually in a few retail stores and we do product demos and stuff like that.
That's dope.
Around. So
cool. Yeah, I mean that's awesome. So you're able to get out into those stores more, and I'm assuming the reason for that is because you're using industrial hemp for your infusion and not THC cannabis.
No. Okay. And we test and provide all of like the information the stores need for retail.
Did you get your comments into the USDA yet?
I already submitted. Yeah, I was on top of that. Yeah.
Those were some crummy regulations, and I'm like, hey man. And then not only that, like you're in Washington D.C., so like you could see these guys and be like, Mitch. Fuck.
Yeah, I know, right? Tap them on the
You're all over here saying like hemp this, hemp that, and you're like, you know
you
what?
Would think it would be that easy.
Yeah.
You would think it, no, but it isn't. But yeah, definitely. We have to make our voices heard. That's how I feel. You know,
that's it. I mean, like this industry didn't come this far in 5 years just to have somebody unplug it, and and especially if that's somebody's pharmaceutical drugs, because
absolutely.
Do you do all your own infusions then with those products that you have on board then?
All of them, yes.
Nice.
I mean, my team and I, but yes.
Right. But it comes to your hands. You see the flower come in. You're like, all right.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I've seen farms, physically looked at it. Yeah. Definitely.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean,
they even separated that in Illinois. So like maybe then if you had the infuser license, you can only get the raw material, right? And you're not allowed to make your own infusion or extractions. So I don't even think you'd be able to do like a magic butter machine if you had an infuser license, but we'll have to wait and see what the rules say. However, it looks like if you wanted to do those extractions, you'd have to have a cultivation license. So then you'd have to, as the infuser, have like a personal relationship with the company that you're going to buy the raw materials from, and then have them extracted however you would like to, and then insert it into whatever food product you want, or beverage, or lotion, or however you want to infuse the THC.
So everyone has a hand in the pot.
Yeah. Tom, is Illinois putting a kibosh on CBD stuff as well? Like say, like, because she's importing
the federal government put the kibosh on the CBD stuff with the total THC limitation, but that crop year is not until 2021. So next year it looks like it'll kind of be the Wild West last year, and then you see the way a lot of these states write the laws is they point to the federal laws, and a lot of the states that didn't grow hemp were punting and waiting for these federal rules to come out. And so now Illinois has to put together their own plan that would comply with the USDA regulations. And I think that's one of these new laws that they've put out. I can't believe the name of it slips my mind, the Safe CBD Act of Illinois or something. And the reason for that would then be so that when you're growing these crops, they would comply with what the Fed said. But the USDA rules are only good for 2 years. And so hopefully in 2 years, Sonny Perdue and the boys aren't running the show no more. And it's like Bernie Sanders, socialist, pot-fueled craziness. And all these things are repealed. That would just be great. But
Yeah, but would someone like Chef Jazz be able to do business in Illinois under her present?
She would be able. She'd be able to do it with industrial hemp, and I think there's a lot of high quality industrial hemp, outdoor grown in Illinois, that could make beautiful infusions and great dishes. Because there was a big hemp crop. Because we had a crappy weather year, but some people had some really good hemp flower. So yeah, I think you could with that, and then we still have the total THC limits in Illinois. So Facebook user asks, do you need a license to teach others how to infuse or to conduct cannabis cooking classes?
No, actually, I have a class that I'm putting together that's going to license other people.
And I'd say that you almost have a First Amendment right for that one, because you're teaching a class.
Exactly.
When I saw
if you are in your chef's, and we'll help you out with the YouTube studio, the chef's YouTube studio's home studio of Washington, D.C., you could be using legit cannabis and broadcasting that on the internet to anybody who wants to pay $29.95 to learn how to make your great dishes, something like that,
Yep. Yeah. It's not a problem. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of being in this area. I know a lot of people are going through a lot, but yeah.
When I saw that you, with your cooking, you also like to cook with the flour itself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as pressing rosin, I like doing that. I like doing our rosin. I like doing spices.
Okay.
A lot, teas primarily. Like I said, doing a lot of extra virgin olive oils using the whole flour. I don't like to use concentrates so much unless I'm doing something where I can control the process, like I said, with the rosin or something like that.
So the rosin, that's like the live stuff. That's the thing that really is the least processed. There's no distillation on that. You really are just pressing it.
Yeah, and I really think that it's a beauty in that, because you're getting all that you need out of the plant. I mean, I think that it's great with the CBD and the isolates and all of that stuff. But when you take away everything else that came with the plant, I just think that the human interaction, we're losing everything that it could be.
And then that's when you're making it more of a pharmaceutical drug.
Yep.
So like with Epidiolex, that's not live rosin hemp flower. It's not that it's a totally different extraction. The Epidiolex is just CBD.
Is it an
Just the
extraction?
chemical.
Just CBD.
I thought it was a lab component.
I'm not sure if they make Epidiolex by growing industrial hemp and then isolating the CBD, or if they just isolate CBD through some other chemical activity. But the Epidiolex drug is just that chemical.
Yeah. And I think that it's always an imbalance. I look at flour sometimes when I think of when I smoke flour, it's a little bit more higher in CBD content. It's just like I said, I'm always a 1-to-1. When I mix both of those together, I really enjoy it a lot more. I feel really stoned when I feel like do a whole J of just THC flour, and then I also feel like not enough when I just do CBD. So it's just like a good mix.
Oh, for sure.
And knowing your balance in those strands too.
What's your favorite means of cooking then as a chef? What do you have any favorite things that you like to do in the kitchen? Are you what are those, like the high tech people with the
all of like the nitros and all that stuff like that?
Yeah.
So I can play around.
How gastropubly is this?
So I like gastropub. Like definitely I love to do things that are like a meld in between the two. A lot of people ask me this question. They say, what type of chef are you? And I can't say that I really run down a certain lane. I can't say, oh, I'm an American chef. I've traveled around a lot. I'm trained in French cooking. Okay. And so I really do use those techniques, and like I'm very meticulous in how I execute my dishes. But then I also would take like a traditional Mediterranean like dish, like a tangine. But then I will also mix that with something that's like very Mexican by putting hominy in it, or corn, and just like playing around, with
so what do you have? Flavors. I mean, this is December. This is a fairly eat heavy month, because you have New Year's and you also have Christmas. So what's cooking in the kitchen this month?
A lot of stews. It's a lot. You would be since holidays are coming up, like of course, like we're doing the hams and like the turkeys and all of that good type of stuff. But like for myself, I love a rustic stew. with like a bunch of kale and potatoes and lemon and just like extra virgin olive oil, a little bit of white beans in there, and a
No
nice
wonder your
stock.
Crohn's disease is gone. You're describing something that's full of like healthy
Yeah.
fibers and
Yeah.
healthy fats and
Well,
vitamins and like, antioxidants and stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, and it tastes good too. So
And it does taste pretty good.
hey, well, with that, like that lemon stew you're talking about, would you look for a more of a terpene, like the lemon?
So
Terpene?
yes, you're right on
Yeah,
it. So I would use something that's very high in limonene, definitely, and
nice.
just drizzle that right on top with a little bit of like my seasoning. Oh, yeah.
And then you'll be feeling good all day.
I know, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just on it. Yeah.
'Cause I think people underestimate, like, actually, like, we're coming from the '60s culture of making brownies to like, oh, well, you like barbecue, so you're gonna smoke it. Why don't you use this earthy cannabis tone? Which I've learned a lot from Bon Appetit, where I was like watching it, going, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." And I just think it's great what you're doing. It's kind of like a scientist and a
Mad scientist.
yeah.
Mad lab chef.
Seriously, that's what I call it. That's what I call my kitchen, the lab.
And then what do you have cooking in the lab then for 2020? What's your plans?
Oh, so a lot of online. We're doing a lot of online cooking classes. Some people who cannot get to the East Coast, Washington D.C. So a lot of the online, breaking that down into nuggets, like decarboxylation. I play within a certain range. I dose within a certain range for very specific reasons, and because I do have Crohn's disease and with like a large number of people suffering over a gastrointestinal issue, I do feel as though that a lot of people can get rid of stress, anxiety, insomnia, a lot of the low-hanging issues, if they understand how to do strain alignment and food, like we just discussed earlier. So really just bringing that online, letting people know what that's about, and then really getting those products out there.
Awesome. Don't forget to give them certificates and awards that they can put up behind them in their own chef or their own kitchens. So that's something that is like big in the legal industry, are these continuing educations and how much so you're going to be a knowledgeable bud tender, because they want you to act to a certain extent like a sommelier when the customers walk in, so that you can walk them through whatever particular type of user experience they would like to have with the plant. And to do that, there's all sorts of things that you could quiz your employees on and educate them about the plant, because it's got a lot, like, for example, all the terpenes. You could have them learn all those, or the cannabinoids. And that was one of the comments that was actually right here with there he is. So he said, the THC and the CBD are inhibitors. That's kind of true. They're antagonistic. And so we were talking about the balance of the two. And the reason why, when you put them together like that, you don't necessarily have any of the problems of like having like way too much THC. And so those people and those horror stories that you hear usually of edibles, those are people that were too exposed to too much THC. And it would have been really helpful if whomever was there watching them freak the heck out while still being fairly safe, just they're mostly scared. Just could have given them some, like a CBD joint, just like, here is industrial hemp, have a few puffs of this. And they would have been like, okay, which is, it's fascinating that there's a plant out there that has those type of antagonistic properties.
And also black pepper helps as well as cinnamon.
Yeah, but isn't the black pepper? I thought that was with the beta caryophyllene as well. I mean, that's one of the terpenes that's there.
And smelling it, and smelling it, grinding it up, and smelling it when you're having a horrible trip. That also helps if you don't have CBD.
Well, people neglect the entourage effect itself too. I mean, that's just pretty much what you're experiencing, Which I think,
back in the day, it just made them sound like, all they wanted to do was get high and then go insane and listen to jazz music or Jerry Garcia. Who knew that they were actually doing stuff healthy for them?
and it's still not a bad day. I'm just saying, I would rather spend my day smoking weed and not doing shit, but whatever.
Well, if you're on vacation, you got nothing to do, why not?
Right.
It's about that time. Chef Jazz, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
How
course.
do we find you out there?
Yeah.
Definitely. So everywhere, Green Panther Chef on the East Coast, Washington, D.C. So on Instagram, Green Panther Chef.
Green
Facebook,
Panther Chef.
Exactly. Green Panther Chef. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with all cannabis legalization news. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care.
Peace.